What kind of a man was Hendry Connell? As we said earlier, there are those in the medical community who have proclaimed him to be a well-meaning quack and more of a charlatan than a researcher. Let's hear from some of his family, friends, and associates.
Dr. Connell himself was the kindest, sympathetic, and easiest person to get along with you could imagine. It was really a wonderful association.
First-class gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
And a very competent man in his own practice, which was, I think, eye, ear, nose, and throat.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Before he became interested in developing the end saw.
Mm-hmm.
And very intelligent and gentle individual.
And then I was pregnant at the time, and with my son who was to be born the next month, and he said, "What are you doing here?" And he was oxygen and everything. And I said, "I'm here to visit your father." And he said, "You go home and do your job, and I'll do mine." And that was the last I saw him.
Was he many decades ahead of the game? Was he perhaps 6 decades ahead of the game, half a century ahead of the research people? He was a military type, and he got overseas. He served in Russia for a while. He did research work in London and Vienna.
He was definitely a research man and had many, many ideas of what he wanted to do and to carry this research on. If he could have, I think, I'm sure it would have gone a lot further than it did. No, he definitely was not a charlatan in any sense of the word.
As a man and as a boss, if I can put it that way, he was more of an associate than a boss. He was just tops. And I've had a lot of work for a lot of people in my life. And I count him as one of my best friends, as one of my best associates. I have nothing but good to say about him. As for his research work, with the degree of sophistication that was existent at the time, and with the financial struggles that he had, I never saw anything that I would consider unethical.
He was very sincere in his, there was nothing in the nature of a charlatan. He was trying hard to solve this problem, and he believed in it. No.
Well, actually, matter of fact, as I mentioned to his daughter, I think the man was ahead of most of the field. When you think in terms of RNA and DNA as we see it today, this man was working in those areas and with very little training. But he had visions which you associate with people like Watson and Crick that came up with the RNA and DNA stuff. So I don't agree that he was a charlatan. I don't agree that he was a quack. We would have people come there for treatment, and I'd be assisting in how he handled these things. And not only was he an exceptional medical doctor, but he also had a heart, and went a long way, because some of the cancer patients that he used to see, I mean, they were so far gone. I mean, there was just nothing you could do with them, and yet they expected miracles.
But he kept up his interest right to the very end. There were people used to come and visit him from various centers that were interested in his work with Ensol and who were still interested in the formula and what they might be able to do with it. They would come to visit him periodically when he was in hospital to talk to him about it. So there was interest in many centers about his work, although nothing was specifically going on at that time. Mm-hmm. And of course he was hoping someone would be able to carry on his work because he knew how it could help people. and what it had done in the past for many people suffering from various types of cancer. He was interested in everything that was going on around the hospital. He didn't lose his interest in that. He was always very keen about things that were happening and what people were doing around the hospital and in the medical field.
The one recollection I do have of Dr. Connell was because they had this huge house down on the lake, he built a cabin cruiser in his basement and got it all finished, and then went to take it out, and he had to take out half the house to get this monster out of the basement.